everybody, how's it going? This is Max with BuzzTox here, and I am back with another Game of Thrones news video. In these videos, I go on the Watchers on the Wall website, and I give my thoughts and feelings on the latest news to break. So obviously, I want to issue a spoiler warning. If you don't want to know anything about Game of Thrones Season 7, leave right now. You are not welcome. But anyways, let's get right into it. So our first news story is Daenerys has actually been burning people at night, or at least that's what I think is going on here. We get some footage of a lot of fire and people burning, and it is said in the article that somebody heard an individual yell Khaleesi, and then somebody else says, which I believe is in Dothraki, they said, "What sort of witchcraft is this?" So now I have a couple thoughts on this news. First of all, the Dothraki shouldn't be saying what sort of witchcraft is this if Daenerys is burning people, because they've already seen the dragons and they know what they can do. And second of all, I think this scene is definitely Daenerys burning her enemies, and it probably is some people that she has defeated, and I'm sure Randall Tarley will be in there, as well as his son, and a couple of people who have rebelled against her. Now, I have one opinion on this witchcraft. I don't think Daenerys is alone, and I think she's slumping into the Stannis Baratheon state of mind. In the last season, we were introduced to the Red Witch, Minerva, and Tyrion hired her to kind of spread the word of Daenerys' goodness to the people to try and control Meereen. So what I think is this witchcraft is actually a Red Witch whispering in Daenerys' ear, burning people at the stake in order to pursue Daenerys' claim to the throne. Now, we have two Red Witches on the show. First of all, we have Minerva, and we never saw Minerva leave Meereen. And I don't know if we established her enough to bring her with Daenerys. And they didn't establish that in Season 6. That's why I'm leaning towards Melisandre being a part of these burnings. We know that Jon Snow kicked her ass to the curb and sent her going south. And we also know that she's going to meet up with Arya, based on a prophecy that she told her in Season 3. And I think what's going to happen is, as Arya is coming north and as Melisandre is coming south, they're going to meet along the way and have an interaction, and that'll take place possibly in episode 2. And then we will see Melisandre arrive by Daenerys' side, possibly in episode 3, because I think Melisandre really needs purpose. She needs somebody to serve. She needs to serve the Lord of Light. And I think with Arya, it'll kind of mirror Melisandre's story, where we will see Arya arrive in Winterfell in episode 3 or episode 4. And to me, this does make a lot of sense. Daenerys is a Targaryen, and I think she would really go hand in hand with Melisandre's point of view. And it would make sense that Daenerys would kind of be swayed into doing these kind of things, because she has burned people before. And continuing our story from last week, in Highgarden, we actually had the Lannisters versus the Unsullied and Daenerys' dragons. And this is going to be one of the biggest set pieces in this season. And in this battle, I have a couple of things that I want to happen, and I said that in the last video. I think that Bronn should die, because you have characters that we love on both sides, and I feel like there has to be a sacrifice. And I think Bronn should die at the hands of a character that we already know, such as Grey Worm, or possibly the dragons. And I have a very specific thought in my head of what I want this battle to be. Like how Jon Snow in Battle of the Bastards, we followed Jon Snow. The camera was always behind Jon, and I think that would be amazing if they pulled that off with Jaime and Bronn. Like, we're on their level and we're surviving this war with Jaime and Bronn, and we see the dragons flying overhead and it's chaotic, and it will paint Daenerys in kind of a bad light. We usually see her kicking ass from her perspective of the dragons. I think it would be awesome to see the chaos on the ground floor of what's actually happening here. But we get more pictures of the aftermath of this fight, and pretty much it's a lot of people are dead. So I don't know whether this is going to be episode 4 or episode 5, but I'm confident that Jaime is going to be captured. I don't know if Bronn is going to be dead or alive, but I'm sure we're going to see an interaction between Tyrion and Jaime, and I don't think it's going to be sweet. I think Jaime has a lot of reasons to be pissed. I think he's going to be pissed about Tyrion killing Tywin. I think he could potentially be pissed about Bronn. But I think he's also going to be pissed about Daenerys burning some of his Lannister men. And I think Jaime will actually be there to witness this burning that I talked about earlier, where she burns all these people. And I think that'll really make Jaime bitter, because here he is looking at Tyrion, his brother, supporting this woman who is burning these people alive in order to pursue her goal to queen. And I think from Jaime's point of view, he won't see that as any better than what Cersei's doing as queen. So I think they're going to let Jaime go in order to negotiate with Cersei, and I think he says that he will, but I think he will definitely be lying, or I think he will still stay behind Cersei and support her because he feels like his younger brother has betrayed him. So I think at the end of the season, we're finally going to see Jaime take that final step into not believing in his sister anymore. But I think during this part of the show, in episode 4 or 5, in the middle of the show, I think he will still be dedicated to his sister, the woman he loves. And our final set piece is the Wolf Hill Quarry. And this is actually the Icy Lake set piece, where we believe a huge set piece is going to happen with Jon Snow, Jorah, Gendry. All of these key characters are going to be going over the wall. And we got a drone's eye view of what this set piece actually looks like. And I have to say, it does look like it is over the wall. It has a certain aesthetic to it. On a frozen lake, it's very reminiscent of the White Walkers' home location, which we see in season 4, but I doubt that is it. But what I do think is this is kind of on the edges of the wall, and I'm very confident that they are going to capture a white, even though I've poo-pooed the idea ever since it was brought to my attention. So now I'm going to try and justify it. First of all, they need men to fight the White Walkers, no matter what, if they're Lannister or what. There's no point in killing each other because that just distracts you from the ultimate goal. And I think in order to convince these Lannister men and Cersei to support their cause, they have to capture a white. And I think that's the way the story is gonna go. But then, of course, there's another way that Bran could possibly tell Jon to go north because he realizes that it's a step that has to be done. They have to capture this white in order to rally all of these soldiers behind you to help defeat this common enemy. I just hope it's handled appropriately. It's one of those things, if you just say they capture a white, and if you read the plot leaks, it sounds wrong, and it makes Dan and Dave sound like terrible writers. But I think that there's a way to write this in a way that makes it believable. And I want to defend Dan and Dave here because they don't deserve the treatment that they're getting. They're producers of the show. They brought Game of Thrones to television, and the show has been a huge success. It has truly set a whole new level, a whole new benchmark for television. And I think they have done a fantastic job, and I think they are fantastic writers, and I don't think they get enough credit. So I have my faith in Dan and Dave, and I'm confident in no matter what story they're trying to tell, I think they're going to find a way to tell it right. And that's it for the news stories, but I just want to comment, unfortunately, Peter Vaughn passed away at the age of 93. He played Maester Aemon in the Game of Thrones series, and I just want to say he served the story fantastic. He was a fantastic actor, and Game of Thrones wouldn't be the same without him. So Peter Vaughn, may he rest in peace. But everyone, that is all of the Game of Thrones news stories. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think I got right, what I got wrong, and give me your opinion on what you think is going to happen with all these 3 key plot points that I talked about today. You can expect another news video next week if there is still news to report, and I got a lot of Game of Thrones theories that I'm trying to come up with and a lot of video ideas. So I'm not just reporting on the news, I want to be communicating Game of Thrones that isn't tethered to news. I want to be creative with my Game of Thrones predictions. So we'll see what I can come up with. But until then, I'll see you guys later. Peace.